Today we're going to be talking about study skills and strategies. So when we are usually all together, I ask, what does your study or homework environment look like? So I'm trying to figure out, are you studying at a desk? Are you studying at the kitchen table? Do you prefer to study on the floor? Maybe you study as you sit in your bed or in a comfy chair. So what kind of things does your study environment look like? Okay, I also want to know, what does your study environment sound like? Do you have music on in the background? Do you have the TV on? Are you in the middle of your kitchen and you have siblings that are running around? So what does your study environment sound like? And then a lot of people say that they listen to music as they study. And so as you're listening to music, I ask, do you listen to music that has like words to it, lyrics, or do you listen to the instrumental versions? And so I play for you this instrumental version of All of Me by John Legend. And it's pretty relaxing. It's just kind of like just piano. So there are studies that have been done that say that if you listen to music that has words to it, or they're saying the words, it's a lot harder for you to like really focus and pay attention. But if you listen to the instrumental version that doesn't have words with it, there's no lyrics, they're not singing along, it's a little bit easier for you to focus and get your studying done more efficiently. Okay, then I also ask, what does your study or homework environment have nearby? So what is with you as you study? Do you make sure that you have all of your materials that you need? If you need a drink or a snack or highlighters or colored pencils or colorful pens, whatever it is, do you make sure that you have everything nearby before you begin? Okay, then I ask, do you study with your phone? So when we talked about time management, we talked about how a lot of times our phone can be a distraction. So if you are not able to kind of block that distraction out, how sometimes it might be good if you put your phone in a separate room. No matter what your study environment looks like, all successful study environments have these things in common. It has to be comfortable for you. So whatever that looks like is completely at your discretion. So whether it's at a table, at a desk, in your living room, kind of with all your stuff spread out on the floor, if you're in a comfy chair, if you're sitting on your bed, it has to be something that's comfortable for you, and that's a personal preference. But it also has to be in an area of minimal distraction, so an area where you're not going to get super distracted. You also have to have all of the items you need to be successful. So it's good to start off with everything that you're going to need immediately so you don't have to get up and leave your study environment to go find whatever it is that you do need. So then I ask, what are some of the ways that you can study or prepare for an upcoming test or quiz? So we're going to talk about some of those different ways now. The first one is student as teacher. So being able to teach someone information that you've learned means that you've reached the highest level of understanding that you possibly can, because you are able to put those concepts into your own words. If you don't have someone to teach the information to, what you can do is you can pretend like you're a vlogger and just pretend like you're teaching it to somebody else, just to kind of like get you into, I guess, that like frame of mind. Okay, flashcards. So these can be digital like Quizlet, or they can be old school paper pencil flashcards that you hold in your hands. So some ways that you could use flashcards in an untraditional way would be, setting them up in different parts of your house. So if you have vocab terms or stems that you're trying to, remember what they are, if you had the vocab term illuminate, for example, you might put that near a lamp. So try to figure out how you can associate those words with different items in your house. We also have mnemonic devices. So mnemonic devices are memory devices that help you to remember information. So we have Roy G. Biv, which helps you to remember the rainbow order is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. My very educated mother just served us nachos, which helps you remember the order of the planets from the sun. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, which is the metric system, and every good boy deserves fudge, which is the scales on the music, like music scales. Okay, we also have music and rhymes. So music and rhymes helps us to put information to the tune of a song, which helps us to better chunk the information together and then store it in our long-term memory. That's why we're able to remember the ABCs so well, is because it chunks things up into more manageable pieces. I still remember the 50 States song that I learned when I was in 5th grade, a rap that I wrote in high school about the grapes of wrath. And my spelling words in elementary school, I was just kind of a notoriously bad speller. And studying for spelling words was my least favorite activity. But my parents figured out that if they put it to the tune of a cheer, then or not the tune of a cheer, but like the beat of a cheer, then I would be much more willing to study and remember the information that I needed. Movement is also helpful. So when we take in information from more than one of our senses, we are more likely to encode it into our long-term memory, so it helps us to remember it a little bit better. So if you study while you hold a plank, do wall sits, if you're standing on one leg, whatever it is, the simplest of movements are sometimes enough to activate our long-term memory to help us to remember the information. We also have graphic organizers. Graphic organizers are visual thinking tools that help us to depict relationships between facts, concepts, or ideas. So the most common one that you guys probably use is a Venn diagram. So remember that Venn diagrams are just two overlapping circles where you have information for one topic in one circle, information for the other topic in the other circle, and then the part where the two circles overlap is where those have similar information. We have a T-chart where it looks like a T, and so you have information for one thing on one side, information for the other thing on the other side. You have concept maps, which are more of like the mapping method of note-taking, where there might be a couple different different subheadings and different information. You also have an idea web, sequence chart. There are tons of different kinds of graphic organizers. Okay, we also have games. So when you're having more fun while you learn, you tend to have an easier time retrieving the information from your long-term memory. So you could play Memory, Around the World, Bazinga, Jeopardy, Kahoot, Quizlet Live. You could make your own name board, Number Cruncher. There are tons of different games that you can play to help you remember your information. You could also draw. So just like with our other methods, drawing helps us to encode information more effectively by activating multiple senses. But this is like directed draw. So it's not you drawing a portrait of George Washington just because you're talking about George Washington in social studies. This would be just like quick doodles to kind of help activate your brain. So you could add symbols to notes to help you remember important information. When I taught nutrition and wellness, I had my students take doodle notes over knife skills, so they had to sketch out what each of the knife cuts looked like. When we did our utensils quiz, where I had my students identify different kitchen utensils, I would have them sketch out the utensil so that they can show me that they know what it looks like. So drawing can be helpful as well. We also have storytelling. So this is just framing information as a story, which can help you to remember the things that are important. So when I want my students to remember the number of cups and pints and quarts in a gallon, I tell them the story of Gallon Castle. So I'm going to tell you that story right now. So it's once upon a time, there was a castle, and that castle was called Gallon Castle. Gallon Castle had not one, not two, not even three, but 4 queens. And each queen had a prince and a princess. Each prince and princess, each prince and princess, in order to teach them responsibility, had to get some pets. So the queens got together and they decided that each each prince and princess would get 2 cats in order to teach them responsibility. So that's just a story to tell you that in 1 gallon there's 4 quarts. In each quart there's 2 pints, and then in each pint there's 2 cups. So it's just an easy, kind of silly way to help you remember the information. Okay, we also have technology. So we're living in the age of technology, so there are a lot of fantastic resources to help you find and retain information at your fingertips. So you have your own computer, and it's really just like you have a lot of information just right there. So you could use Kahoot, quizzes, YouTube, Quizlet. Quizlet has that learn function, which is super great to help you to retain the information. There's vocabulary. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways that you can study and learn and retain the information that you need.